Hello everybody, welcome back. My name is Winback, and on today's episode of our Newcomer's Guide to Lost Ark, we're going to be talking about cards and trade skills. Two pretty important systems that have some early game effects, but ultimately will be roster-wide and super helpful for as long as you are playing this game. But they are pretty confusing if you're not paying attention to some of the nuance. It is a YouTube video, however, so feel free to like, comment, and subscribe your heart out. Swear fealty to the YouTube algorithm, just like the rest of us have. So anyway, in this episode, we're going to talk about, first off, cards, because I know cards can be a pretty confusing system, and it took me a long time to figure them out on my own, not without some helpful research as well. But cards are roster-wide, number one, and are going to provide stat bonuses just like your roster rewards do, so that getting roster XP and unlocking those rewards for everybody, it's the same kind of thing that you can do with cards. That means that the lower level characters that you are going to make after your main can again get pretty big boosts from your cards to help get up to speed faster if you're not using a power pass on them. So, book cards, set cards, and enhancements are the three tabs that we have. Actually, that's not in the right order. Equip cards are going to be your first, and then you've got your book, and then there is the enhancement tab. So equip cards are going to provide bonuses based on the number of cards in the set. This does not include all cards, however, and only certain cards are going to be equipable. So cards can range anywhere from 2 cards in a set to 6 cards in a set, and provide different additive bonuses depending on how many cards are in the set that you've equipped. So, for instance, if you have 2 cards in a 6-card set, you may get plus 4% elemental damage. If you equip 2 more for a 4 set, you get another 4%, meaning that you've got 8% elemental damage. And then at 6, you might get another 4%, or you might get something entirely different. But you can see that they stack up and they work together. The second tab is the book tab, and that's for cards that will still provide stats but are not going to be equipable necessarily. Some of the cards in the book are equipable, but some are not. Regardless of all that, though, your ability to equip them is all going to happen on the first tab, so don't worry about looking through the book tab too hard for equipable cards. So think of your card book as your collection and your equipable cards as your playing deck. You've got all your magic and trap and monster cards on the left side, and then your book is full of cards for showing off how cool you are to all the kids in the playground who didn't have enough money to buy as many cards as you did. Nostalgia. Now, the card book provides passive bonuses based on the collection of full card sets. And what that means is that there are still going to be sets of cards just like the equipable cards, but in the book tab you are going to gather full sets of cards to increase either stats or different passive effects. When you complete a set and then you continue awakening the cards, which we'll talk about in a second, they continue to provide additional bonuses. But all that you have to worry about for now is collecting a full set of cards to unlock their passive bonuses. You can filter the card sets based on which are complete and incomplete to find out which specific bonuses are coming from which cards, or to find out which card in particular you might want to go look for to get certain stats unlocked. Regardless of that, you do manage to find a lot of cards and will get rewarded with cards throughout your questing, so don't feel like you have to spend a whole lot of resources going out searching and collecting them all at once. As you get towards, bigger bosses or bigger quest chains in the game, these rewards will actually become pretty plentiful, so you don't have to worry about it. There are also a lot of cards out there that require specific quest chains or specific timing with characters or rapport to get them unlocked too. So I wouldn't fret super hard about getting everything that you need all at once. The third tab is the enhancement tab, though, and this will feed back into your equipable cards. It also feeds back into your book, but ultimately, Enhancement tab is going to require you have 2 things, which is number 1, duplicates of the same card, and card experience. So card XP is at the top right of the card screen. You can also obtain card XP through the soul leaf items that you get as rewards. You'll see them as basically flipped over cards, card backs, and when you right click them, they will add to your card XP bar. In order to enhance cards, you'll need the required number of duplicates and the requisite amount of XP. So on the first go, you only need one duplicate of the card, but you'll need progressively more as you continue to awaken them. Once you spend the card XP and the silver to enhance the card, you'll then use the duplicate and a smaller amount of silver to achieve whichever level of awakening you are onto. The reason this is important is because equipable card bonuses don't just stop at completing a full set. In all sets, there are 2 more tiers of bonuses you achieve by reaching levels of awakening. In the case of our Ark cards, a full 6 set will give us a total of 15% elemental damage reduction, and once that's done, if we get a total of 12 awakening points between those 6 cards, we'll get 4% elemental damage. If we max all the awakenings on all of these cards, we get another 10%, giving us 14% elemental damage bonus. So, the awakening of all the cards, you can actually see which point that you're on when you're using them, and that will be denoted by a little gem-looking icon on the card. But they go up to 5. Once you have a card at 5 awakening points, it is maxed out. So that's all you have to worry about there. Not super important early on, but later on it will take some precedence. These effects can be really important for specific bosses or raids, and you should be confident in your ability to swap the equipable card sets in and out, however. So the sets do come with a preset option. You can drop a whole bunch of cards on at random, switch over to another card set depending on which boss you're going up against, or if you have so many cards that equipping a preset doesn't make a whole lot of sense, you can always mix and match depending on what makes more sense to you. If you're going into a particularly slimy guardian raid against maybe a frost bird of, the non-named variety, maybe you want to have more frost resistance, so you'll find a set of cards that does that better, or maybe you want a set of cards that's going to help you do more stagger damage or, knock that boss on its ass a little bit quicker. So don't feel like you're locked into any one specific set of cards. Now, when you're in your first 50 levels, you don't need to worry about hunting these cards down or enhancing them all right away. You can get away with just collecting them and really enjoying the passive bonuses from the collection book. The art on the cards is pretty cool too, so if you're into the whole actual collection aspect of it, that's neat. But don't be surprised if that triggers the Pokemon card collecting chemical in your brain and you fall down a spiraling well of madness into card collection. Now, moving on to trade skills. Trade skills are another roster-wide set of skills and gear that you'll need to craft really big, important items in the endgame. The reason that we're talking about it now is because getting these skills strong early on is going to make all of the crafting you have to do later much, much easier. The more experience you get into trade skills, the more rare material you can gather, as well as being able to farm bigger and rarer forage items. You also get new minigames unlocked for the gathering abilities themselves, so if you're kind of bored with just sitting there and, clicking a button and waiting, there are more elements that will make it more enticing. So there are 6 trade skills that you can level independently. Foraging, number 1, logging, then mining, then fishing, then there's hunting, and lastly there is excavating. Foraging, logging, fishing, and mining will be the most prevalent of the 6, while hunting and excavating are a little bit more competitive on some servers because they do have a limited gathering opportunity. Trade skills have to be repaired, or trade skill tools have to be repaired just like regular gear though, albeit a lot less than the regular gear. Trade tools do degrade, however, so once you've found some really nice higher-end tools, you'll want to save them for your more important instances. This is more of an endgame worry, though, so if you're rocking those green or blue tools for a very long time, don't worry about it. They are going to do everything that you need them to do for quite some time. There is a specific action energy required to use trade skills as well and recovers very slowly over the course of time. The energy starts out at 10,000, so unless you're just a maniac for gathering and foraging, you don't usually have to worry about running out. As you do more of these skills, like I said, you unlock new abilities, new minigames, and opportunities to play these minigames for better material collection. So as you level up the skills, you'll gain more rare materials from what you're gathering from, and basically become the master unlocker, forager, logger, miner, fisherman. You see where I'm going. If you want to farm specific skills for your trade skills, you can check your map in the top right-hand corner, and you'll find that you'll see the icons for the trade skills that you need. You can also go to the continent level of the map. That'll just show you the whole continent, the big cities in the area, and if you highlight or hover over them, the icons for those same trade skills will pop up, so you can make the decision for what you need. For instance, if you want to get your foraging skill up, you can just look for the little leaf icon over whatever city or location that you're searching in, and dive in. Start pulling some plants, picking some mushrooms, digging the weeds. There is another location in which you can gather resources called the Platinum Field, but you'll need a ticket to enter these locations, so don't worry about making that a priority. It is more of an endgame issue. Lastly, remember that gathering these resources and creating things like HP potions and battle items can be really useful for selling things on the player market. If you've got an abundance of materials and need to make some gold, start crafting yourself some of those items and see if you can get lucky with other players on the market looking to purchase stuff that they've run out of and have not foraged up for. So in terms of these two early game systems, they're not going to seem super important, but it is because of the prevalence that they will have later with your roster and your eventual endgame that they will be super, super important. Now, you'll want to take your time and make sure that they're both paid attention to as much as you can early on, because it's going to save you a lot of a headache the higher level that you get when you have to go back and start fishing and foraging and logging, and you don't have any XP in those things, so you're missing out on all these really big opportunities to gather big materials or rare materials. So be the gatherer that you've always dreamed of. Collect all of those cards like you're at the top of the 90s trading card craze. Stop punching bad guys for just 1 second and see what else life has to offer. Good. Now immediately go back to the most satisfying bad guy punching you've ever experienced in your entire gaming career. Welcome to Lost Ark. I'll see you next time.